Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Porsche Cup Challenge here at Road Atlanta multi-class sports car racing. And as always, I'm your host, James East, bringing the action 1080p 60 frames a second as drivers are starting to get gridded up here for the season finale. On pole, Jeff Seville. Michael McLeod starting second. Julian Swanson starts third. Dan McFarland starting fourth. Dan Morera starting fifth. Gary Watson starting 6th, Adam Schmidt starts 7th, Young Choi starting 8th, Joe Lima, and look at that, the field is underway. It's going to be Jose Maria, Stephen Eckenrode, Vlad Sanchez, Tyler Maraglia, Jack Buser joining us here today. As already we're seeing them slicing and dicing. McLeod taking a lunge against Jeff Seville there. Heading into the bus stop, down the hill into the S's. I've got to say, one of my favorite tracks to call the action at because it's my home track. And there goes Michael McLeod taking over the race lead. 11 drivers out here tonight. And Seville will be second fiddle heading up turn 5 right in front of the spectator area. But a bobble out of McLeod. Pushes wide out of 5. Has to follow Seville. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack lane a little bit behind. That's Gary Watson and Julian Swanson side by side. Swanson taking a dive up into 4th. I see an off track. It looks like Dan McFarland having some sort of issue here. Where's McFarland? Looks like he's off in 6 and 7. So McFarland's going to fall back about 6 positions. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The backstretch for Atlanta wide open and just about anything you can find. A couple little bends through 9. Down the hill into 10A. Are we going to see any big moves under braking? Looks like Jack Buser taking a peek to the inside line. And no, there's big problems. Buser Maraglia off track. Let's get that replay queued up and see what happened. All right, so we're focused in on Maraglia in this instant replay. And Maraglia just misses the brake mark and absolutely T-bones Jack Buser. A hard hit for the two. Odd to see that 226 machine caught sleeping at the wheel, but 10A is definitely not the place you want to have it happen. We take a look a little bit further up the field where things are still underway here. Looks like we've got Gary Watson fitting off a freight train of drivers behind him. Looks like that is going to be Choi, Morera. Looks like Maria also getting the mix here. Everybody making some ground and trying to get something going here in the season finale, Road Atlanta. Now looks like Tyler Maraglia is coming down pit road. And that is going to leave still 14 drivers out on track here. Well, I heard somebody sliding around back there. I think that was Vlad Sanchez, who finds himself off track. Trying to see where that is. Looks like that's into 6. Yep, as he drives out of 7, so he lost it coming out of 6. Up front, it's still Jeff Seville. With Michael McLeod in very hot pursuit, blasting down what is now called the old turn 12 here at Road Atlanta. We wait for the live timing to update. McLeod, there we go, get it updated there. McLeod still in second, about 4/10 back. But if we look back, Gary Watson really has his hands full as he leads the field. The rest of the field, I should say, 4th place back up into the action. Now, Todd Maraglia, I believe, has taken a tow back to pit road, showing involved in an incident right as he rejoined the racing surface. Now, I'm interested to see, can McLeod put the hammer down and catch back up to Jeff Seville? McLeod trying to stay within the draft of that number 3 machine. The backstretch here at Road Atlanta can be huge as far as the draft goes. A long time to try and pull up to the driver in front of you, deep on the brakes into 10A. And it looks like McLeod was able to gain a couple of seconds, tenths of a second over Jeff Seville, whittling it down to a half second between himself and the leading car. Seville's going to hold on with everything he's got here. A little bit further back, Dan McFarland trying to get some forward momentum again. Oh, a little bit of a tail tap there to Dan Morera's 404 machine. They do not want Choi and Watson to break away here as they rip up turn 5 right behind them. That was Eckenrode and Adam Schmidt linked up 8th and 9th out on the circuit. Looks like McFarland was going to try and get something lined up on the inside line into turn 6. Had the door shut. Adam Schmidt looks like he's going to get a big run out of turn 7. Yes, he is. Taking away the 8th place spot from Eckenrode. That'll be Schmidt. One spot he has regained since the beginning of the race. Still down one spot from where he originally qualified. But again, it's all about getting that momentum up. This 50-minute feature event here today. Here's Watson and Choi. Watson up 2 spots. Choi up 3. I saw a brief pit report. It looked like it triggered for Michael Carrillo, but does not appear he's coming down pit road. So we have not seen any green flag stops yet, unless it was out of necessity and damage. Looks like McFarland still all over the back of Morera here. It's going to be a big move on the brakes. Through 6 and 7, and McFarland gets the 6th place spot back here. Just ahead of them, that's Watson and Choi side by side in the battle for 4th. Up front in the top 3, it's still Seville, McLeod, and Swanson, but here we go, hard on the binders. Choi with a beautiful move into 10A, guards the line out of 10B, and will take over the 4th place spot. Now with that move, the field is stacked up slightly. Keep an eye out. Here comes McFarland, who might try and make a move into turn 1. He's looking to the inside line of Watson. It's going to be tough to take the line here. Into the bus stop, Watson holding on to 5th. McFarland seems very hungry right behind, but a bit of a shimmy there for McFarland. Might have grabbed too much of the curbing here at Road Atlanta. And that is allowing Adam Schmidt back in the mix. We haven't talked about the number 12 machine in a little while, but with how dicey things are getting just upside here in the top 5, Schmidt is finding himself rejoining the field. McFarland keeps the pressure through turn 6. Looks like Watson gets a little bit of better drive out of 7. But if McFarland is in the draft here, might be able to make something under braking into 10A. McFarland hops out of line, pulls up alongside Watson. Makes the pass clean. Does he get good drive out of 10B? A bit of a slide there, but able to hold on to it. McFarland taking over the 5th place spot. But now he's got a long deficit, 1.8 seconds back behind Choi. If he wants to work any higher up in the field, I think it's going to be a big ask because you've got Watson, Morera, Schmidt all right here in tow, nose to tail. Schmidt all over the back of Morera. Here we go. Let's see if we can get it on board with Adam Schmidt because he is ripping in that number 12 machine. And gives the viewers a little bit of, a perspective as Gary Watson's off track. Watson off track. Stephen Eckenrode on the brakes to avoid the number 64 machine, so Watson's going to find himself way down the field. Look at the damage on the back of the machine. And I think he is unfortunately giving up here at the season finale. And yes, he will take a tow back to pit road So that is going to leave Schmidt and Moreira to battle it out in 6th. So Watson, the only driver to take a tow so far here this evening. But we've still got good racing out on track now. It looks like it's getting mighty dark, mighty quick here in Brazelton. Going to be interesting to see how much lighting we have at the end of this thing. Now, Adam Schmidt at number 12, he's up 1 spot from where he started. Dan Moreira currently down 2. But we know Moreira has pace. But it looks like Adam Schmidt's starting to stretch the gap. Up front, it's still Jeff Seville making it look easy. He's got almost a 1.7 second gap over Michael McLeod. A full 3.5 seconds over Julian Swanson. Swanson, that number 51 machine, can just see the top 2 ahead of him. But let's go further back. Looks like McFarland going to make a move on Choi here in the battle for 4th. McFarland positioning that car in a very good spot into 10A. Choi a little bit hard on the brakes into 10A to avoid going side by side in that tight switchback, charging up the hill under the bridge. McFarland, a man on a mission here tonight. McFarland back to his original qualifying position in 4th, while Choi looks on from behind. Jeff Seville out front. You can see Michael McLeod in the background exiting turn 7. Oh, it's definitely going to be dark by the time this thing's all said and done. It is already getting pretty gloomy here at Road Atlanta as the sun starts to go down. Seville, definitely the fastest driver out on course. Last time I showed him a 120.15. Let's see what it updates to as he crosses the line. A 120.52. A 1/10 of a second faster than McLeod. About a 1/10 of a faster than Swanson sitting in 3rd. So the pace very, very close here in the top 3. Going to be interesting to see what the pit cycles end up looking like for these drivers. In theory, it should open up around that 20-minute mark, should close around the 30-minute mark for these drivers. Michael McLeod now about 2 seconds back from Seville. Looks like Swanson trying to close that gap, but just kind of stuck here in no man's land. About 2 seconds back from McLeod, just about 8 seconds ahead of Dan McFarland in 4th. I'm going to be interested to see if McFarland has enough time here to try and maybe fight for a possible podium. Speaking of a fight, there's Schmidt Moreira. Moreira in the 404 taking over 6th. Does Schmidt fire back under braking? No, he does not. And there's Michael Carrillo right in tow as well with the fluorescent green wheels, the number 29 machine. Carrillo is our hard charger so far this evening. He is up 7 positions gain. Looking to make it 8 as he keeps Adam Schmidt in his sights. Here we go, Schmidt versus Carrillo. That's going to give Moreira a little bit of a breakaway in the 404, but looks like... No, what happened to Carrillo? finds himself off track. Has looped it out here. Looks like that is going to be out of 7, I believe. No, that's out from underneath the bridge. Oh, where is he? Excuse me, that was out of turn 5, so the uphill left-hander. Very easy to unload the car there. Now, we got to report as well, Jack Buser takes a tow back to pit road. Todd Maraglia did get back on track in the 226 machine. Gary Watson in pit road for an extended stay. Watson is going to roll out of pit road after 45 seconds in his stall. Now Watson, one of those drivers that took a tow early on in this event, so good to see him getting back out there and trying to get back in the fight. Looked like there's a little bit of lap traffic there. I think that was Lima. Yes, it was in the 47. Holding far off the racing line, so that way Seville, McLeod, Swanson could get by nice and quick. Now, I don't know. I mean, this is going to be tough to see. These top 3 separated by about 2 seconds, whatever way you cut it. I'm not sure if they're going to have enough time because all 3 of these drivers, Seville, McLeod, Swanson, so equally matched on pace. They would have to count on somebody else making a mistake, and that is pretty rare here in the Porsche Cup Challenge. These drivers are always so smooth and so consistent. Swanson losing a little bit of time here behind McLeod. Now it's a 2.1 second deficit. The field fairly stretched out as Jeff Seville rocking and rolling in that number 3 machine. Not having any issues here. Now this is also where the championship will be decided. Jeff Seville has won most of the races he has entered in, but Michael McLeod has been Mr. Consistency in that number 15 machine. Dan McFarland sitting 3rd in points, I believe, coming into tonight, so he's going to need a good, strong finish as well. And that will be for our overall championship. It is the same for the Pro Class. The 3 contenders for the Amateur Championship are going to be Dan Morera, Jose Maria, and Shannon Mothral. Unfortunately, Mothral not out on track here for the season finale. So that's going to be some points missed there for the number 19 machine we've historically seen do very, very well here. Now, we think the fuel window is going to be opening up in the next lap or 2 for these drivers. Going to be curious to see how long does Seville stretch it out for that number 3 machine. I would assume this is going to be a one-stop race. Road Atlanta not too terribly bad on the fuel mileage. Vlad Sanchez had another off-track excursion. Looks like that's going to be out of turn 5. Thankfully, nobody else tied up. But I just got a report as well. Dan McFarland also off track in the number 23 machine. That is going to put Choi back in the hunt for a 4th. Jose Maria down pit road, the number 21 machine. Looks like Choi not quite able to get momentum here against McFarlane that he was looking for. Vlad Sanchez also down pit road for his one scheduled stop. Going to be interesting to see. I would imagine these drivers can make it to the end on one stop of fuel, especially with Seville, McLeod, Swanson, your top three, continuing to stretch it out. On screen is Choi versus McFarlane, the battle for fourth. Choi's up 3 spots. Our hard charger out on track, though? Still Michael Carrillo, the number 29. He is up 7 positions gained here. Seville still out front, has stretched his lead to 2.5 seconds up over Michael McLeod. He's going to stay out another lap here, trying to stretch that fuel window as long as possible. The less fuel he has to take on the pit stop, the faster the stop is, as well as the lighter the car will be in the back half of this race. Now in the next lap or two, we'll see the cross green and white flags displayed to these drivers. And look at Seville using the curbing at Road Atlanta, helping to get that car rotated through the bus stop and down into the S's. Running a very smooth line through turn 5 here. Seville, McLeod, and Swanson stayed out the lap prior. Are we going to see some green flag stops here? No, Seville still staying out. There's Michael McLeod. He's got a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him. I think that may be Eckenroad going up turn 1. No, it's not Eckenroad. So McLeod gets through lap traffic. The S's of Atlanta, not a place you wanted to run in traffic to, especially when you're in identical race cars. Pretty much spec racing here at the Porsche Cup Challenge Series. Really all about what the driver can do at getting tied up in that section of racetrack. That has given it now a 4.5 second advantage to Jeff Seville. Here comes McLeod down into... Oh, look at that. There's a bunch of lap traffic there for Julian Swanson. Into 10A. Jeff Seville's going to stay out even longer as the sun starts to set. Looks like Dan McFarlane down pit road. No, excuse me. Michael McLeod down pit road. Dan McFarlane had a bit of an off track there in 10A. So Swanson will move up into second based on pit strategy. McLeod will be the first driver in the top 3 to come down pit road. as we get ready to unfurl the green and white flags. So let's see, how much fuel do we think is left in the tank of Jeff Seville's number 3 machine? Very impressed at how long Seville is going to stay out here for. Really, everybody inside the top 6 has yet to box. Michael McLeod with the undercut. We've seen him do some pretty spectacular things with fuel management in the past. Going to be interesting to see if this night pays off for him as well. Road Atlanta. Michael Carrillo down pit road. So Michael McLeod's pit stop time, 12.83 seconds. Gonna be curious to see what Seville, Swanson, McFarland, your current top 3 do. We've passed the halfway mark of today's feature event. Seville continues to stay on that number 3 machine. Looks like Swanson will do the same. Not sure about McFarland yet. And Seville, I'm going to be curious how close McLeod will get after that early pit stop. Waiting to see if anybody else boxes this lap. Seville stays out for another one, charging down turn 12. Now a little bit further back, looks like Adam Schmidt is catching back up to Dan Morera in the battle for 5th. About 6/10 separating the two. So Young Choi, the second driver down pit road, looks like Adam Schmidt will follow suit. So now it's going to be the top 4 drivers plus Steven Eckenrode who have yet to box here today. Seville, 9.7 seconds up now over Swanson. 20 seconds up over McFarland. And Michael McLeod showing 38.3 seconds, 38.2 seconds back from your race leader. McLeod's total pit lane time, 40.4 seconds by the time he crossed the entry cones to the time he passed the exit cones. So in theory, that should put him right around Jeff Seville once Seville completes his stop. But is Seville going to be able to save on fuel here? Running that thing out even further, and he's going to do just that. It's going to be past the 30-minute mark before we see Seville's number 3 machine down pit road. Looks like a little bit of lap traffic ahead for Seville. That is going to be Adam Schmidt's number 12 machine going through turn 6 and 7. Lima and Maraglia on pit road. So let's see, Seville, Swanson, there we go, Seville's down pit road. Is this going to be the signal? Looks like Swanson's down pit road. Let's see McFarland as he charges out of 10B. Does he hold track right? No, McFarland's going to stay out another lap here. So let's see what Seville and Swanson's pit time are, as McFarland will take over the race lead on strategy. Seville's in his box. McLeod was in and out in 12.8 seconds. Seville, 13.7 seconds, so McLeod was faster on pit road. What about Swanson? Can he beat 12.83? No, it's going to be a 13.75 for Swanson, so McLeod was very, very fast on pit road. But that's still going to put the number 15 machine about 4.5 seconds back from Jeff Seville. McLeod is going to need to find some pace here in the closing 18 minutes if he wants to catch up to that number 3 machine. Because Seville has been dominant this season. That could be the difference in a points win for McLeod, or looking at second place by the time it's all said and done. Dan McFarland down pit road. Dan Marrera will follow suit in the 404. That should put Seville, McLeod, and Swanson back into that 1, 2, 3 spot. There's Seville heading up the turn 1. Michael McLeod back up into second. Swanson will take back over the third place position. We've got about 16 minutes left to go. And Seville has built up a 5.6 second gap over the rest of the field. I see a battle shaping up. Looks like Marrera and Choi back together side by side into 10A. Little bit, I think that's lap traffic behind them. Choi, I was going to say comes out on top there, holding on to the 5th place spot. Looks like Marrera was going to fire the nose back up the inside. And Marrera once again falls back to 6th. Choi charging up through turn 1 into the bus stop. Choi's been very fast this season and getting progressively more consistent every time That bright pink number 8 machine is out on the circuit. The headlights are on for our Porsche Cup drivers as it is getting progressively darker and darker here tonight. Track temp about 66 degrees and seems to be cooling here. And look at this, Morera's gonna fire back once more. Side by side down the backstretch of Atlanta. Morera sets up for an inside line move into 10A. Choi a little bit deeper on the brakes. Morera sticks it in. Choi able to defend. Let's see, can Morera go for the high-low? No, loses a little bit of drive there at a 10B. Oh, and I just heard somebody crash. That was Vlad Sanchez in the number 2 machine in a very precarious spot. Adam Schmidt went off track. That's going to be out of turn 5. Easy to lose the tail end. So Vlad Sanchez parked it in an extremely precarious position. Gets it fired back up. But man, thankfully that didn't take out too many drivers there. Seville pushing a little bit wide there out of turn 5. And a huge bobble there for Seville. Out of turn 7, pushes wide. Looks like attrition playing a factor for the number 3 machine. Still has a 7-second advantage up over McLeod. So thankfully Seville able to hold on to it there, but the last thing he wants to do is throw away such a massive lead that he has here over McLeod and Swanson. I mean, these Porsche Cup Challenge cars aren't the toughest. If you tag those wheels just right or just wrong, you can give yourself suspension damage and have to come down pit road with 12 minutes left in this feature event. That is not a lot of time to hammer a machine back in place, and surprise, surprise, who's back together? Morera and Choi. Once again, Morera trying the inside line through 10A, but that's going to give Choi the defensive line out of 10B. Morera doing a good job staying with that bright pink number 8 machine. A quarter of a second gap separating the two onto the start-finish line. Choi holding on to that 5th place spot. Morera still down 1 spot from where he started. Now about 5 seconds back from this duo is our hard charger, Michael Carrillo, who's up 8 spots into the 7th position. Oh, and Choi is off track. Moreira muscles his way up into 5th. And now Choi is on the back foot for the first time in a while. He did a great job defending against Moreira. But now we're about to see if that number 8 machine can overcome an 8th, almost a 9th deficit as Moreira leads back up the hill here. Now everybody has completed their fuel stop, so we're good to go for the remaining 9.5 minutes here at Road Atlanta. Choi, I think he's going to be driving a little bit of red mist here. Behind Moreira. Maybe a little bit of contact the lap prior into 10A. Let's see how deep Choi goes on the brakes here to close the gap. He's whittled it back to within a half second, so he gained 4/10 on Moreira this lap. Oh, you can tell Moreira gets a good line. Choi pushes a little bit wide there out of 10B, losing a couple of almost a few tenths of a second. Had it down to within 4/10, might have overcooked the entry into 10A and caused him to push a little bit wide into 10B, but I think Choi is going to be on the gas here, knowing not a lot of time left to go. So Moreira doing a good job holding on to it here. Oh, wrong driver there. Let's see, can Choi close the gap? Lap prior, he made a little bit of mistake out of 10B, cost him a few tenths of a second. And it looks like Moreira just very clean through 10A and B, extends that gap over a second of that number 8 machine. Just 7 minutes left here at Road Atlanta to see if Choi can catch back up to Moreira. That's going to be the battle for 5th. Your top 3, it's Jeff Seville, Michael McLeod in 2nd, and Julian Swanson sitting in 3rd here. Seville has extended that gap 9.2 seconds up over Michael McLeod. I think McLeod, as much as he wants to try and close that distance, is going to have to go into cruise control here and just hope Seville makes some sort of mistake that could maybe give the championship to McLeod by the time it's all said and done. But just about every race that Jeff Seville had entered, all but 3 races that he's entered, he picked up a win. I believe it was a 3rd at Jerez, a 2nd at Watkins Glen, and I believe a 3rd at the Nordschleife just last week or 2 weeks ago. Just about 5 minutes left to go. And Jeff Seville has broken, just about broken the 10-second advantage mark over Michael McLeod. McLeod has Swanson trailing 4 seconds behind, so McLeod also can't afford a mistake here, the number 15 machine. Two closest drivers still out on track. That's Choi and Morera, 5th and 6th, but they've got about 9/10 of a second between them. Last time by, Seville a 120.25 compared to McLeod's 121 flat. So Seville still finding time here late into the race. Not having to push the car too much here. With less than 5 minutes left to go, Seville just looking smooth and steady on the course. Seville crosses the line at Road Atlanta. He's going to have about, I would say, about 2, maybe 3 more laps left to go here. And the field definitely separating. Morera sitting in 5th has pulled another half second on Choi, the number 8 machine. Carrillo still remains our hard charger out on track number 29, up 8 positions. Little bit of lap traffic ahead of for Seville. That's going to be Steven Eckenrode's number 484 machine. Eckenrode having a solid race as well. He's up 2 positions. And it seems like most of the field kind of out here in no man's land. I saw a hint of an off track there. I think that was for Morera. Still holds a 1.9 second gap over Choi. And I just heard somebody spectacularly crash through 10A and 10B. That was Vlad Sanchez, who I believe takes a tow and retires. So Sanchez has had enough here in the last couple moments. Look how dark it's getting with less than 2 minutes left to go. The white flag will be out, I believe, this time by for Seville. Seville heading into 10A and 10B. Fairly certain, I'm almost positive we're going to see the white flag come out for that number 3 machine this time by, charging down turn 12. Couldn't quite see, but I'm fairly confident the white flag is out there for Seville. I mean, mathematically, that's going to be it. So he's going to charge up turn 1 for the final time. Let's get it on board this race leader, who's putting on a clinic here at Road Atlanta and showing you how dark it's getting for these drivers. As Seville makes his way through the S's up into turn 5. Still a little bit of light there on Spectator Hill. And ooh, Seville pushing a little bit wide out of turn 5. Oh, and a bit of a blink there for Jeff Seville as he dives into 6. Out of 7. And for the final time here tonight, Seville's going to blast down the backstretch here at Road Atlanta. Oh, another big blink there for Jeff Seville. Hopefully he reappears before the end of the finish line here. Because right now it shows McLeod, Swanson up front. Surely McLeod. Is he going to pick up the win here? Right now it's showing Michael McLeod as the winner. Julian Swanson second and Dan McFarland in third. Making sure that that's not a issue with the live timing, as the friendly competitors give a bit of a hat wave to the fans and sign off in spectacular fashion. So let's check the results. Unofficial results show Michael McLeod first, Julian Swanson, Dan McFarland in third. Now we got word from the stewards while we're checking the stats there, and on the live, the official scoring, it shows Jeff Seville as the race winner, Michael McLeod second, and Dan McFarland in third. So that will make it the end of the season, ladies and gentlemen, for the overall championship. Jeff Seville will earn the number 1 plate, retiring the 3. Michael McLeod will get second in points, and Dan McFarland will round out the top 3 in the overall season. For our amateurs, it's Dan Morera bringing home the top spot in the 404. Jose Maria second in the amateur championship, and Shannon Mothral will round out the top 3. On behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, thank you all so much for having us a part of your Porsche Cup Challenge series. It's been a great time watching all these drivers continuously progress, and we appreciate each and every fan that has come out and supported this racing series. For the final time, my name is James East. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.